Okay, you're live.
Hi to everybody on another Tuesday. Welcome once again, both to familiar faces and newcomers. We are the Media and Entertainment Special Interest Group here at Hyperledger. And we're very lucky today to have an international guest, specifically from Poland. This is Mr. Piotr Hierowski, who is on a larger scale part of the software mill organization, again in Poland, but more specifically is the guiding light behind the new Fablo initiative, Fablo project, which you can find on GitHub, as well as in Piotr's more official material. So I'll post that link in just a second if you want to drill down into the engineering of what he'll be discussing. And what he will be discussing is Fablo, which, and here I quote directly from the repo, it is a simple tool to generate the Hyperledger Fabric blockchain, to generate the network and then run it on Docker. It supports RAFT and solo consensus protocols, multiple organizations and channels, chain code installation and upgrades. That initial blurb is what caught my attention. So I wanted Piotr to come and explain to us in greater detail how this all works. So Piotr, it's over to you.
Okay, thanks. I'm going to share my screen and we'll be start talking. Okay, everything is fine? I assume that that everything is fine, so I'm going to start.
Yep, everything looks great.
Okay, great. So awesome. Thanks for introduction. As it was said, I am Piotr and I'm working in Software Mill, and we're going to talk about Fablo today. And Fablo, it's our open source project and also a part of Make Hyperledger Startup Easier trend. And it was previously named Fabrica, but got rebranded to Fablo recently. But it's the same thing. So if you got already interested in it and using it, you can start naming it Fablo and use the new repository that is Fablo. And we're going to talk today about why it was created, review its features, do some demos, maybe talk about future plans, answer some questions, and stuff like this, basically. So first of all, why it was created. And to answer that question, first we must talk about Software Mill. And it's not about bragging ourselves, but only to get the context. Because we do a lot of cool stuff, like Scala, big data, machine learning, Apache Kafka, blockchains. But one factor is in common between all our projects. That is that we are not a product company. And that means that we help in building custom solutions, products. So often we work in models such like team extensions, consultings for the clients. And all of this basically means troubles. It means troubles because we don't have any single network setup in some cloud or in some external cluster. We don't have stable configuration, but rather we have multiple projects. And every of the projects, it's kind of different, and we must propose a different solution. Like in case of supply chains, many organizations, many channels. In healthcare systems, maybe 2 or 3 organizations will be enough with common channel, and also other use cases. So basically, our crucial needs are being able to experiment with network setup. So we could easily move from one configuration to another one to quickly experiment. And also, really crucial part is limited time factor, because often we must work in kind of short time frame to present something working to the client. And all of this sounds nice, but in case of Hyperledger, it's really bloody complicated, actually. Because don't get me wrong, Fabric is really great tool, but hard to get and understand at the beginning, because it's got a lot of building blocks. Every organization have certificate authorities, peers, We've also got order organizations, orderers. We've got channels to combine organizations, chain codes that can be installed on the channels, and policies to ensure security around the blockchain. And everything is nice, but everything is really complicated here. And that's great because thanks to these building blocks, we can cover a lot of use cases and a lot of scenarios. But it's really hard to get at the beginning. And we had really hard problems understanding Fabric at the beginning. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of guys here at community also had higher learning curve to understand Hyperledger Fabric. So basically, what's our solution? That's why we've created Fablo. And Fablo started as our internal project quite a while ago. There was no good Hyperledger network tooling back then. And I'm working on this project with Kuba, or Jacob, if you prefer so. He didn't make it today because he's happy and busy father of two, but he's really working hard on Fablo also. And right now we are in a happy moment that most of our internal projects depend on Fablo. And everything is working really nicely, and we can shift between the projects very easily and very easily change the network setups. And after using it for some time, we decided to open source it. So it's pretty short initiative. Like it's been open sourced new vacations, new summer, pretty shortly. So what's the main idea behind the Fablo? The idea is really simple. Everything is stored in one file, that is configuration file. Let's call it JSON file for now. And that file will contain all needed informations about Fabric, like Fabric version, all organizations, order types, peers, channels, chain codes, and absolutely everything what you need to get properly running Hyperledger network. And then you give that configuration file to Fablo. And Fablo will transform it into actually running network. And the best part is that you do it with one command. So you just say Fablo app, you point to your configuration file, and then the network starts running. And let's review some key concepts and what's really nice about Fablo. First of all, config.json. Config.json is heart of our project because it's like a complete blueprint of your network in one file. And everything should be a part of that file as it was set. So all organizations, all peers, channels, chain codes, Fabric version, private data, TLS. So a lot of stuff so that no later flags or additions are needed. So config.json basically represents complete state of Fabric network that we want to have. And besides of being really complex and big file, doing a lot of stuff, we want to be it as concise as possible. So just covering minimal details. So often we base on default parameters that you can easily override. And I will show it during demo that you can override many things in Fablo config. Also, we are heavily focused on being flexible, just to be basically as flexible as Fabric is and its building blocks. So we can cover a lot of experiments and a lot of use cases. And everything in config.json is covered by JSON schema. So we can do some syntax highlighting to see some Fablo features. And also thanks to it, we can do some basic validation. So what options can we use and what it's not allowed in Fablo. Also, I'm gonna call it on this presentation config.json, but just wanted to say that we also can use YAML. So if you prefer that data format, it's absolutely not a problem. Second part is Fablo itself. Fablo can do various things. Basic command is Fablo init, and it's your starter point because you can initialize your new configuration file, and you can decide if you want blank network without chain codes, or you want some sample one just to play a little bit with Fabric. And then you can modify your configuration file, and if you decide to verify that everything is okay, you can use validate. Besides of validating it against JSON schema, Fablo will also give you valuable suggestions. Like maybe it's not a good idea to use solo order type to run your network, and RAFT is more production ready. One peer for organization is definitely not enough. Maybe you should need another one. So validate is kind of easy way to get started with Fabric and validate your setup. And also, as it was said, we have command Fablo up to get everything running. But besides of running everything, we have also generate command. So you can generate scripts for running network and then customize them a little bit for your custom case. In case, for example, maybe you need max message count for orders increased for 5 or another default. So you can easily generate files, a little bit customized for yourself, and then use them. Also, when running the network, we have chaincode upgrade for upgrading and experimenting with the chaincode. And usual ones like start, stop, down to manage the existing network. And benefits of Fablo. First of all, declarative approach. We are here heavily inspired by Kubernetes operators, and we try to use as less commands as possible. So we try to orchestrate the network only via using configuration file. And that's why, because one file is really easy to reason about, to do code reviews, and to check the actual state of the network. When we have multiple files and multiple scripts, everything gets kind of messy. So Fablo, thanks to that, everything is stored in one file, is really great for POCs and continuous integration, because you can easily download Fablo, run it on continuous integration pipeline like Jenkins or GitHub Actions, and say, okay, run this type of network containing this many organizations and channels, and just do it. And Fablo will easily do it. And Fablo is really great for future, because right now we support only one type of transformation, that is Docker Compose, but there is a cool potential for other transformations. Like we also can include blockchain automation framework maybe, or maybe something else, because guys at blockchain automation framework do a lot of great stuff. So we could easily transform that Fablo file again to something more production ready, not only Docker Compose file to run on your local laptop. It's also really great that you can transform that configuration file in various visualizations. So it's easy for business guys to reason about and to see some blocks and machines. And possibly we could do also custom plugins. If you have some custom transformation and custom case in your organization, you can try to do some custom transformation to meet your cases. And I'm going to talk only about vision plans, and then will be the first time slot. So visions and plans of Fablo. First of all, as it was said multiple times, but I want to say it once more, we want to treat Fablo configuration file as a single source of truth. Like we can transform that configuration file into Docker Compose, but in future we could easily do a lot of stuff here, because right now we can share it with the rest of team and do some collaboration. Maybe add orders, check why something is not working. and we can have common environment between all developers. We could also easily do code reviews and review why we've added another organization, if it's enough peers for that channel, or must we join much more peers. And in future, this single source of truth also could be transformed into working cloud environment. So really nice option, I think. But I'm gonna pause for now. And if there are any questions, I'm open it. So
please feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions. It seems like everybody is listening very attentively.
Okay, that's cool. If you have any questions, there will be also another slots for questions. So if you had something in mind, don't hesitate and just ask. So I'm going to continue. So basically Fablo features. And Fablo features, first of all, we support plenty of Hyperledger Fabric versions from version 1.3, from versions 1.4x, basically all 1.4 versions, up till the latest ones, so 2.3.3, I guess, right now. We support 2 order types, that is solo and RAFT, and 2 database types, embedded one, the default one, that is LevelDB, and the external CouchDB, which is good for querying. Also, at our heart of our project is setting up channels and chaincodes. So we try to be as flexible as Fabric is. And I'll try to demo it really soon. So I hope you understand it and like it. Also, we have TLS support, private data, defining uncopies, and the other useful stuff. So, okay, I'm going to proceed to demo. And after the first demo slot will be also a slot for questions. So we're going to start really simple project using Fablo. So I'm going to switch to my IDE and enter presentation mode. Just a second. Oh, here it is. All right, got it now. So first of all, let's start with absolute minimum. Like here we have empty project. We have only IntelliJ IDEA directory, some gitignore, and absolutely nothing else. And we'll try to change it with Fablo. So first of all, as a side note, I have already Fablo installed here, but if you don't, you can do it easily using this command, which is also provided in our GitHub repository. It will install small executable file that will communicate with dedicated Docker. It will install it globally, but if you like, you can install it also in project directory. So this small file is really pretty elastic. And when you have this file, you can type Fablo in it. And after typing it, as you can see, Fablo config.json was created. And that file contains information about JSON schema, and will validate everything against this JSON schema. This file contains also information about Fabric version, about TLS, about root organization, also type of orderer, a number of its instances, also number of usual organizations. And currently we have only one organization called organization 1 with 2 peers, both running on LevelDB. And also we have one channel named my channel 2, and it will be joining both peers of organization 1. As we can see, we currently don't have supported anything included in chain codes, but we'll try to change it to proceed with demo and start and show something more interesting. So we can try also to type Fablo init node. And after typing it, we've also got for free custom just minimum chain code to test a little bit. And now, as we can see, we also have field chain code directory. It's pointing to chain code node. The chain code will be installed on my channel 1. The chain code version will be 001, and it will be named chain code 1. And as it was said, with one command, that is Fablo app, and pointing to configuration file, we can transform it into actually running network. So Fablo just got our configuration file, passed it, generated all scripts needed to run the Fabric network, and now it's trying to run it. As you can see, our example, it's pretty simple, so it's doing great and fast, and soon we'll have working Fabric network. And voila, everything is running. And as a proof, this is just minimalistic Docker PS to fit for presentation. It's like just saying Docker PS and using some custom formats and sort. And it's showing that we have one certificate authority for organization 1, root certificate authority, CLI for organization 1, 2 chain code instances for both peers. Also, we have order and 2 peers. And if you will try to execute it, everything is running and the network is up and running. So pretty much simple and fast to run your sample network. And easily from nothing, we switch to this diagram here. So root organization with 2 peers, 1 chain code, and my channel 1. I've also got second part of demo prepared, but if you have some questions in mind, I'm open and it's time for questions. So I'm happy to answer everything. I'm gonna pause for a minute maybe, so don't hesitate if you have something in your mind.
Once again, please don't feel shy. You can ask the questions just by unmuting yourself. You can post them here in the chat, or if you're watching the live stream on YouTube, I'm also monitoring the questions there. So any of those is equally great. Oh, I see one question. Here we are in the chat already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
Can you
view it? I can't view it actually. Could you please?
Oh, sure. Yeah, read it out. Oh, great. 2 questions. Fantastic. From Dinesh, we have, where can we mention the Fabric version in the config.json file?
Could you please repeat the question?
Sure. Where can we mention the Fabric version in the config.json file?
Ah, okay.
Yeah, great.
Maybe I didn't show it. Fabric version is here, just at the beginning. So it's network settings and Fabric version. And if you like syntax highlighting and not sure what Fablo actually can do, here you should have a nice pop-up in IntelliJ, so you can easily switch between the versions. So yeah, so here's the version number. So,
sorry, but I beg your pardon. No, please continue.
Mm-hmm. Ah, okay.
And one more question from R. Givens. I apologize, I don't see the first name. Very simple question. Can Fablo be used to create NFT?
No, actually, no, it cannot be used, because NFT is more about designing smart contracts and a lot of work to do some NFTs. We are doing only various network setups. So no, it cannot be.
Hi.
Hello.
So yeah, I have a question. So can we use Fablo to create a multi-host network?
Multi-network, like multiple computers in cluster, yes?
Yes, right.
And no, currently we cannot use it. We are only prepared for using it on Docker Compose, so like single laptop. We have some plans to do something more cloud ready, but not yet. Probably, spoiler alert, we'll try to be ready with it for Christmas.
Okay, also one more question.
Yeah.
So can we integrate Explorer into this network?
Not yet. We cannot include Explorer, but also there's plan for it. Again, probably near the Christmas. It should be relatively simply, because in future we plan to add Explorer at this level. So at organization level, just another flag that we want Explorer for organization 1, organization 2, or maybe global 1. So not yet, but soon.
Okay, thank you.
And Piotr, we don't have a question, but we have a comment in the YouTube live stream. I'll make sure you get the contact, but somebody says, I would love to do a podcast with you.
Okay, cool. That's really nice. I will give our email at the end of the presentation, so we can think about some kind of podcast, yeah.
Yep, sorry, we have 2 more questions. Dinesh, again, do you have the feature to add a new org into the existing network using Fablo?
No, we don't have such a thing. I'm gonna try to extend this example and elaborate on why we don't have such a feature. So just please wait, and I will show everything.
And the last question, I think at the moment, from Hakeem, who says, can Fablo be added to a pipeline that redesigns and redeploys a network after an update?
Possibly in future, yes, because we are really keen on providing another transformations. And another useful transformation is obviously Kubernetes operators, because this whole Fablo idea really nicely fits into Kubernetes operators philosophy. So in future, you could easily also transform it into something more cluster ready, and pipeline should transform your Fabric network. So that's the plan, in short.
Fantastic. That's the last of the questions for the moment.
Okay, so we're gonna go back to presentation and chapter 2 with our network design. So we're gonna pretend that we are working in supply chain use case. And we're gonna go back to Fablo, go back to our configuration file and do some mess. First of all, we want something more production ready. So we'll try to enable TLS communication for security. Also, as it was mentioned, solo is definitely not a good idea for production ready environment. It's only good for simple use case to play around with Fabric. Also, let's have 3 instances of orderer. Also, currently we have only 1 organization, and we'll try to add new ones. So we'll add organization just called organization 2. And with domain organization2.com. We're gonna also have some peers. Let's say that we'll have 2 peers, but to show how elastic Fablo can be, let's say that this time you want to have CouchDB, because maybe for some reasons, organization 2 wants to do some rich queries, or just likes CouchDB. So we have 2 organizations, and now we must modify our channel. I'm gonna speed it a little bit. So in the orgs section, we're gonna add organization 2, and we'll only join peer zeros. So like first peers of each organization to that my channel 1. And also we can play a little bit more and show another interesting thing, because we can add another chain code. For sake of simplicity, let's just reuse this program here. So chaincode KV node, so the sample one. And let's call this chaincode 2, and let's install it on my channel 2. And let's define my channel 2. So second channel, things are getting really complicated here, but still probably under control. Because we have second channel named channel 2 between organization 3, sorry, and organization 2. And let's join peer ones of that organizations to that channel. And also let's add this organization. So organization 3. And again, I will change it to level DB. It will be slightly shorter, faster one. So in like just a couple of seconds, we defined 3 organizations, 2 channels, and 2 chain codes. And also change everything to TLS communication. So our Fabric version is secured. And last cool thing that we can do is we can say that we want to do have private data collection. And let's say that this private data will be visible only for organization 2. Let's say that it will be visible for organization 2. So org names should be org2. And let's name this private data collection just collection 1. And after having such a lot of mess, we want to type Fablo recreate. And again, we can pass our configuration file. And Fablo is trying to pass it. And again, try to put everything up. And now it's going to execute for some time. And I'm going to answer that one missing question. So basically, the question was about, can we have some commands for adding another organization? In short, we don't have such a things because in Fablo, we believe that everything should be a part of configuration file. So in longer term, we want just to orchestrate the whole Fabric network just using that file. So if you want to add another organization, you should add it to your JSON configuration file, and then Fablo will try to diff it to execute some patches of the network. And it's really cool idea and cool philosophy, but it's also really complicated. And it's not yet supported, and it's not going to be supported probably for some time, because first of all, we want to focus on Kubernetes operators integration and some cloud environment. And maybe we'll try to add it lately. So it will be provided, but doing so such diffs, it's kind of complicated. Oh, it went really fast, actually. I wasn't expecting that. I'm going to verify it. Oh, and everything is running, so cool. Wasn't expecting this, but yeah, we have the network preview here in my console. So we have three certificate authorities now. So we know that every organization is running. We also have 3 CLIs for each organization. We have mentioned CouchDB instances for organization 2, a bunch of chaincodes. Chaincode 1 and chaincode 2 here is visible. We have order in RAFT mode already running, and peers for organization 1, 2, and 3. So everything is running, and we'll try to execute the command everything again. And something is not ready yet. Just give me a second. My channel 1. Oh, that's a pity. I guess we have some kind of error at the end of demo. Okay, I'm not gonna try to fix it right now because I'm kind of in presentation mode type. But in most cases, everything should be running, and easily you could transform your network. So you can try it yourself, and I'll try to look on it after this talk to validate what actually happened here. I just don't want to spend some time on debugging random lines here. So with Fablo, again, easily we switched from simple POC kind of mode, just to play with Fabric, to something really broad and complex, like 3 organizations with 2 channels. My channel 1 with 1 chaincode. I hadn't done yet but we also could have installed another chaincode on that channel. And Fablo is elastic enough to do such stuff. We also can join peer ones from organization 2 or 3 into separate channel and provide some information about private data. So normally, if we hadn't have Fablo or any other open source project, it will be like work for at least 2-3 weeks to get something running, tested, and probably ready for production and for some complicated cases. Here, we've just did it in like 3-4 minutes with network execution. So it's really cool, I guess. And that's enough of my demo. If you have some questions after demo, I'm happy to answer them now. And so it's time for time slot and then last presentation slot. So questions, please.
We have a few waiting for you. The first one would be from Brett. Which cloud solution would you pursue? Perhaps Linux?
First of all, I'm just a big fan of Kubernetes, so it's another level of abstraction. So I'm not thinking about Linux machines or something like that, because mostly I'm a cloud developer. So yes, I prefer Linux, but on top of that, I like to use Kubernetes, and it's pretty useful, and you can easily use also Kubernetes on the Linux machines.
Suda-san has a question. In Fablo, where do we specify the endorsement policy or the chain code policy?
Good question, because I've omitted it, because in the newest Fabric version, we have such thing as default endorsement policy, but we also support older versions, so we could easily write endorsement and just provide endorsement policy here. We plan to do something more complicated, like to point organizations from configuration file that are mentioned here and try to parse that file. But for now, just try to paste the endorsement policy here and everything should be working.
And lastly, for the moment, another question from Brett. 1 second. What about the stack with Internet of Thing platforms?
Not supported yet. We are not close in our business and in software mill with IoT solutions. So we are just digging into that. So I'm interested into knowing more about IoT in Fabric, to be honest.
Okay, that's it for the moment.
Okay, cool. Okay, so last part of our presentation. I hope that you could see that Fablo is really great and it really is simple and it's really flexible. And you could easily define such complicated cases with Fablo, like supply chains. So many organizations with many channels. You could easily switch and refactor your file to cover such cases as 2 organizations connected with audited channel, with one root auditing organization, validating or approving some transactions. You could easily also create such configuration file to create 3 organizations with common channel, and then also create small channels joining each organizations. So Fablo is really flexible and good for various solutions. So it's nice, but to be honest, Fablo, as everyone and everything in life, also had its drawbacks. It's not yet production ready, as it was answered on QA session just minutes before, because we currently support only Docker Compose on single laptop, but in future it will be ready. Currently, we don't have any good support for Linux. We support only, we don't have any good support for Windows. We support only Linux and Mac OS. And it's fairly good tested on both of these machines and various systems here, but not on Windows yet. And we can do basically imports of running network. So if we have some custom solution, we cannot easily transform it into Fabric configuration file to like repass it to configuration file. But I have some ideas on how I can improve it and how we can proceed with it. So maybe in future it will be available. Also, as it was mentioned, we don't yet have support of Hyperledger Fabric Explorer, but it should be fairly easy and every pull requests with it are also welcomed. And basically that's all for Fablo. If you got interested, here's our domain, that's Fablo.io. It redirects us to GitHub repository of Fablo. And if you get some questions, want to do some collaboration, talk about some open source and stuff like this, here's our email. It's blockchain@softwaremill.com. Both Kuba and I will be available on this email and answering all questions. And yeah, last time for questions here. So if you got something, just hit me.
Last chance for questions. Anybody feel inspired? Just give people a few seconds to type. I type with 2 fingers, so I don't expect anybody to type quickly.
Just a comment here. This is very impressive. Thanks very much for the presentation.
No, thanks. Thanks. Actually, to be honest, there was a lot of work to do it so flexible, and we have a lot of battles. And then a lot of battles with macOS and working it both on Linux and newest distributions on macOS. So thanks for the comment. We are really happy to deliver it.
Look, I have a question, because one of the most considerable appeals in your project is simplicity. Have you worked at all on any user interfaces so that people with minimal knowledge of any blockchain could perhaps interface with your architecture?
Yes, we are thinking about it. Right now, just to start with, we want to do some visualization, so transform it into like images, but we are also thinking about some interfaces. So in future, yes, and it's a cool idea.
So when you say visualizations, which you mentioned in an earlier slide, would that be a form of interaction rather than a drag drop menus? It would be more perhaps of an intuitive engagement with a two-dimensional decentered image.
For start, without interactions, just to present maybe such a diagram like this one. But in future, we plan also maybe some console to do some drag and dropping and configuring schemas on fly.
Mm-hmm. Randy has given us a question, a fresh question. When do you think Fablo might be ready for full production?
Oh, that's a hard question, because to be honest, right now we are doing it after hours in our spare time. So it's getting really slowly there. So maybe next year for something more. Just try to follow us. We are also open for any kind of collaboration. So if you're interested, just join us.
We have a question from Jorge on YouTube. What considerations should the Fabric SDK have in order to integrate with Fablo?
Basically nothing, because Fablo doesn't do anything magical or new with SDKs. So only one missing piece is configuration YAML for SDKs. That's the usual part. And I guess that work on it is actually on progress in Fablo. So soon you will probably have a chance to transform that configuration file to connection profile for your SDK.
Mm-hmm. Randy says, thank you very much. This is very exciting, and asks where the best way, what is the best way to follow you? Do you have maybe a newsletter, or is it simply the GitHub repo?
Right now, only GitHub repo, because I'm not a Twitter fanatic yet, and I'm not trying to post every changes. So best way to follow is to try to use our repository and maybe official Twitter of our company, and we'll try to make something better soon.
And just to remind people, the company is Software Mill. Is that .com or .pl? I forget.
.com.
.com.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've just got it. Mm-hmm. That is the central company. So that also is a way to follow.
Yeah. And we have pretty active Twitter. So everything about Fablo will be on that Twitter. Yeah,
I just noticed Brett said he's already joined you on Twitter. So that's exactly what you wanted people to do. So that appears to be the last question. Thank you very much indeed. It's been really an eye-opener, and I'll certainly be using it for one. And it's also very kind of you to give your contact emails and also an open invitation for collaborators, because as you said, this is being done at the moment in your spare time. So thanks once again for helping us after the end of your working day in Poland.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. Yeah, and thanks for warm introduction and some compliments. And hopefully we'll also be seeing ourselves in the blockchain community and on next talks.
Fantastic. Well, thanks again, and please stay in touch.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.